to Baps Hockey Academy. Here I'm bringing this new segment to YouTube here and for all of you to really give you some insights on how to approach some different things that happen in season. Now these are things that really aren't being discussed, or players do not have access to extra resources to really handle these situations and have an action plan to find a way to elevate their performance or get out of a tough situation. And this really comes back to my own story. When I was younger, I had a single parent, a single mother bringing me up to play hockey. She really had no idea of anything about hockey and really didn't know how to help me through some of those things. She really gave me the opportunity to play, but outside of that, I didn't really have anyone else to help guide me through some of these nuances and really fine-tune my game. We really had a lot of help of some amazing coaches along the way, but there just wasn't a resource. And as a junior player growing up, a college player going through all the in and outs of trying to be an elite player and going into my pro years, going into my sixth season now, I still don't see anyone or any types of resources out there for free for players to really help navigate these situations. And it's a broad look at, it can be bad coaching situations, how to handle teammates, how to really evaluate your own performance, and how to handle some of the tough times that come about during a season. A season's almost like a roller coaster. You got a lot of ups and downs, and really being able to manage your emotions, manage these situations is what will allow you to create consistent performance. And that's what I want to bring today. And today's, for the first episode, is something that really has helped me throughout my career, and I've had to learn the hard way, and hopefully I'm able to help players shorten that learning curve. And that's really how to find that sweet spot in performance. And now, you've probably seen me post this online, but I really look at it as flow in that center state where you're in a high focused, high present state. And that's something that there's lots of books out there, but there's not a lot of strategies on how to get into that sweet spot. And then there's two other spots where you're up top, really too high, too emotionally charged, too engaged. And this is where you get really too into the moment. You're thinking of too many things at a time. You're really buzzing. Or you look at the bottom end where you're just not into a game. You're just going through the motions. You're just kind of lagging. And so we really want to find that sweet spot in performance. And so today, for the Baps Hockey Academy, what I want to bring is a strategy, an action plan for you to really bring out that and seek that high-level sweet spot in performance. And at the end of this, you'll be able to get a PDF to guide you through this. And I'll have a link and everything for you so that you can access that absolutely for free. And so the first thing is a self-check. That's the first step in this whole process. And so when you're going to the rink, you want to, or even before you get into the rink, I like doing it at the rink, just taking a minute or two and just evaluating where you're at. And so there's three different things that can happen here. One, you can be in that super high mental state where you're thinking a lot of things, you're buzzing, you can't really hold in one thought, your mind's really scattered and you're jittery. That's when you're too high, you're too emotionally charged. The next one is you're too low. So the second thing is you're lagging, you're almost in the past, you're really just not engaged. You don't have that spark, you're not present, you're not in the moment. And so that's when you know you're just not feeling up for the game. And this happens, especially in a long season. This is very normal. And then the third state is being fully present. When you're fully present, and this is less aware, but more you're engaged in the moment. You're only thinking a thought or two at a time. You're really looking and taking in all the information, and you're just on point. And so that's where we want to get to. So I'm going to go through each one and give you an action plan to really optimize your performance and get you out of those poor states and keep you in that sweet spot. Then I'll give you some things to avoid, because again, there are the right and wrong ways to approach managing these different situations. So again, the first step is self-awareness, a self-check. Again, make sure you're patient with yourself. This takes time to get aware and really fine-tune yourself and understand how your body works. And really, that's something that I struggled with. I used to think there was this like black and white structure on how to know where someone is and how to get to that elite level performance, but each player is different. Each player has their own unique way. And so these strategies are just going to help you get a better awareness and get you to feel out what works for you. But at the end of the day, it's on you. It's on you to find what works best for you to get you out of these two different states and get you into that sweet spot. So now let's really start with the first one. When your mind is too high, when you're emotionally charged, you're amped up and you're fired up. So this is when you see players that are way too emotional, they're way too engaged. And so I'm going to give you 3 strategies to really approach this. The first thing you want to work on is using breathing through your nose. And so James Nestor talks about this in his book, Breathe, and it's 6 seconds through the nose, and then 6 seconds out through the nose. And when you do this, this is a great way of calming your mind. There's several different breathing techniques for calming yourself, but I found that this is a simple, easy to remember tactic to really calm down your mind and really get you to focus in on the moment. This is something you can do on the bench, you can do before your warm-up, and so it's really important to use this breathing technique to really calm yourself down. Now the next strategy is to simplify your game. You want to simplify your play. You don't want to try to create high-risk plays. When you're in this amped up, high emotional state, you're on the bench, you know that you're just, again, way too amped up. We get the tendency to force plays, or we want to force a pre-programmed move like a toe drag. You're like, oh, I'm going to get him back by doing this and this and this. And this is, again, when we're in this too high emotional state, we keep thinking about the future. We keep looking ahead instead of right now. And that forces us to, in these poor situations where we're forcing plays, hope plays, we're not looking at what's given and taking the options that are available. Rather, we're trying to make something out of nothing, which most of the time leads to poor outcomes, bad decision making, and again, it's not conducive to playing in the moment and getting into that sweet spot. So we want to simplify our game when we're in this high emotional state versus trying to force plays. And then the last thing is you want to take a second when you're on the bench or before you go in, you want to think about what's one thing I could do differently in this next shift that can give me a positive result. We want to narrow our focus. If we can get our focus in on one specific thing and just focus on that, that's going to bring us back into the present versus getting us stuck in the future. Now, some things to avoid is, and again, if you make this a habit, coaches are going to gas you. I've had problems with this in the past. Again, my college coach can attest to this, me smashing my stick in practice when I miss a play. It's okay once in a while to show some emotion, but if that's a consistent habit where you're yelling and just pissed off because you screwed up a play, that's not conducive to anything good. So we want to minimize that. We want to minimize the smashing your stick. And then the next thing, something I really struggled with at a young age, was we think that the way to get up for games, and again, I was already up and I didn't know how to do this self-check, was let's take supplements, so let's drink a bunch of coffee. And again, this is a recipe for disaster. Definitely felt some issues going through college, going through juniors, even in pro, where you're just way too amped up, you're too jittery, and we can all attest to this. This is, any pro player can tell you they had to live through this, and I'm just telling you, if we can avoid this, we can minimize these times, it's again going to allow you to focus in on the game. Because again, if you're letting an outside source like supplements trying to dictate your performance, you're already setting yourself up for failure. So we really want to minimize the use of supplements and using any type of uppers, like again, caffeine, and you name it, just to try to get your game up. It's okay to be smart about it. It's okay to use them, but it's about being smart about it, not using it in excess. So now moving on to the next thing is what do we do when we're too low? So that's usually when we're just not engaged, we're not in the game, we're just not feeling it. And again, we're just super tired. Could be you've had already 2 games, you're going into your 3rd game, or you're in a tournament, you've played 5 games already, and you're going into Sunday and you're just bagged. And so we really have to find, this is typically where we're just focused on the past. We're not really engaged in the moment right now. We're a little bit late from a thought standpoint, and we're almost daydreaming. And so a way to get us out of that state, and I've talked about this before, is using aggression and using engage. We want to really engage and use some battles to get us into the game. This is a one surefire way I can tell you. An easy way to get yourself into the game is start a shift out and go in there and lay someone out, or go into a hard battle. When you do that, you're mentally going to get yourself engaged into the moment, and that's going to kickstart you into that sweet spot, in that sweet spot of performance. Another way that you can do that is even before the games. Strategy is to get a good warm-up in, get your heart rate up, get moving. When you do that, that's really a great way of trying to get you to focus in on what's around you. I find on those days when I'm really tired, I really work to try to get my heart rate up, get a hard warm-up. When I get on the ice, try to get a couple good strides in, try to go, or again, push myself a little bit, because that's going to get me, again, it's like loosening up the cobwebs and getting the rust off. And when you do that, it's going to get you engaged, it's going to get you dialed in, it's going to get you focused. And so these are things you want to do. And then again, some things we really want to try to avoid, again, when we're in this low state of mind, is we try to depend on a play or trying to force a play. Again, I've talked about it before. We'll try to, okay, if I make a good play here, this is going to help me get into the mood. It's going to help me get going. And again, this is a recipe for a disaster. We try to force plays versus just trying to be in the moment. And when we do that, it's just going to set us up for failure. And again, one other strategy here that I always like bringing back to the breath. When we talk about the breath, it really helps you get engaged. And if we've heard about Wim Hof, he's again, he's got tons of world records with either cold therapy and holding his breath. And his breathing techniques, when you use them, it allows to get you engaged. It really starts up that cortisol, that stress hormone, and it gets you fired up and engaged. And so I like doing that as well to start out, either if it's a day or before games that I'm just feeling down, to really get me engaged and present in the moment. And so the way that works is you want to go 100% breath in and then go 75% out. And you do that 30 times, you'll feel a little tingly, you'll get a little lightheaded, almost like, whoa, what happened here? And it's gonna kind of knock you back a little bit, but I'm telling you right now, doing that really gets you engaged. And using your breath is the easiest way to get you into that sweet spot in that performance. I always like, in both scenarios, you can use these two different types of breathing techniques to really get you fired up or get you to calm down. And again, these are just, again, similar breathing techniques. You can look up more online and expand more into that realm. But again, the breath is a great way to get you focused and dialed into that sweet spot. Now, the last thing is, what do you do when you're in that sweet spot? What do you do when you're engaged, you're focused in on the moment, you're not thinking too much? Really, you're not going to be aware much about this. This is where, again, your perception of time goes down. You're more in the moment and you're just going. We want to continue on here. We want to keep thinking one thing at a time, see what's in front of you. And we've all experienced this at one point or another, playing at any level, where you just feel like the clock is just run out. You're like, oh my God, 10 minutes have gone through the period, and you've been on the ice, you're buzzing, you're making plays, you're doing the right things. And so to stay in that moment, it's, again, we want to get back to what's in front of us, get back to the breath. And so hopefully, again, here now we've laid out an action plan. We have the self-check. We have the understanding of when we're too high, some strategies on how to manage that and get us back into that sweet spot, and what to avoid doing so that we don't put us deeper in the hole and get us even higher where we're not able to perform well. And then when we're too low, when we're just not engaged, some strategies on how to get you up, get you going, get you engaged so that you can fall in that sweet spot. And then when you're in that sweet spot, what you need to do to stay in there, stay in that sweet spot of performance where you can, again, excel and really show your authentic skills. And so, again, this is what BAPS Hockey Academy is all about. It's all about trying to give you some strategies, give you some value, show you how you can find what works best for you. Because again, at the end of the day, we're all different. These are strategies are just basic templates that I've used, that I've experienced, that I've worked with other players and they found benefit. And it's about leading you towards what works for you. And so hopefully you found this helpful. Again, I love doing this. I really want to give you and all the players out there the opportunities that I didn't have. I just wish I had these resources, and if I can shorten the curve, the learning curve, even just a little bit, I know it's going to give you that edge in your next game, in your development to really skyrocket your performance. So again, so that you don't have to go through this whole thing again, I'll make sure to have a PDF file downloadable so that you can download this whole process, go through it on your own so that you can really develop your game. And you can always go back to it. I'll have it up on the website. I'll have it up on here as a link so that you can get it right away. So thanks again for tuning in to the first episode of the BAPS Hockey Academy, as I'll have tons more videos on here. We'll be doing it every 2 weeks or so to really help you navigate the in-season roller coaster, the highs and lows, and really find some consistency in your game and get your game and IQ to the next level.